I know you're a monster. Moonlit travels, proving that time can haggle. Midnight battles, losing your mind in the saddle. Witness hands full, knew it by heart as it was told. Sleepless and cool, fool in the dark and the ice cold. Stop, stay here a while, stop, stay here a while. Stop, stay here a while, stop, stay here a while. Witness hands full, knew it by heart as it was Streetlight candles, choosing the night as a chapel. Feel like vandals, scandals. Stop, stay here a while, stop, stay here a while. Stop, stay here a while, stop, stay here a while. Got me waiting, got me waiting. Ashfall, siren won't disclose where she's been. Castle, tyrant, let it come, let it in. Selfish shadows meet here, shallows. Stop, stay here a while, stop, stay here a while. And I feel like a child, got me waiting. Witness hands full, knew it by heart as it was told. Sleepless and cool, ruled in the dark and the ice Cast iron, siren, see it all. Keep within ashfall. Silence, bring you back from what you.
Well, hello. It's Sunday. It's 4 o'clock ish. And you know what that means. It's time for those two nerds. I am down a nerd today. It's just this nerd currently. I don't know if the other nerd is coming. But it was beautiful weather today and he went golfing, so I can't really say that I blame him. for wanting to go out and about. So unfortunately, you just got to deal with myself today. And I'm gonna ramble on for a while, and then I'm gonna turn off the camera. So it'll be just like when he and I are doing it together, only I'll be by myself. Um, so anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Sunday. It's 4 o'clock ish. It's time for those two nerds. I am the only host at the moment, Nictus from Nictus Plays Games. Go follow me on places on the internet. I do things sometimes. Some of them are good. Some of them are less good. I'm on Instagram and Snapchats and Facebook, and I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere. Like I'm just hiding in the weeds. Like you can't get rid of me. I'm everywhere. So how is everybody doing this beautiful Sunday? Um, a lot of times we do this show completely by the seat of our pants, right? It's never typically planned, so it's even less planned when there is just one of us. I believe this is my second solo show. I did one with my host Ted the Bear, and then I did another one with by myself. So yeah, I've done. This is my third solo-ish show. I've had two co-hosts, so I don't know. Whatevs. So again, how's everybody doing today? Looks like we're starting to get some people to file in. Um, we are on every place on the internet right now. We're on two different Twitch channels. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. So tune in, share with your friends. Let's talk about some stuff. So I guess busy week for movies. Mortal Kombat. Have not seen it yet. I've heard very mixed things. I've heard people loved it. I've heard people hated it. I think my normal co-host went to go see it. Normally, this would be where I would say, "Hey, co-host, what'd you think?" And he would probably talk about it and tell you how great or not great it was. So we're just gonna take educated guesses from the trailer. I saw it looked decent. I'm planning on watching it later tonight. Um, I made a trip to my friendly local game store and picked up a new board game that I've been kind of having my eye on for, gosh, I don't even know, a year, probably a year. Um, so I picked that up. I kind of wanted to get a game that was based in the Lord of the Rings universe, and I didn't really want to pick up another card game. So, but I have been playing Arkham. I have been playing Marvel Champions quite a bit. I actually have the latest Monster Hunter. I haven't even taken it out of the box to put it in my Switch. That makes me kind of sad, but it is what it is. So streams this week. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's planning any streams. Normally he would be here to tell you that, but he's not. So I'm probably gonna be doing some painting streams. I've done in the last couple weeks live tabletop stream of Arkham. I've done one miniature painting session, and we're gonna probably be doing some more of that, and then in the next this week we'll be doing either some live play sessions or we will be doing some more painting because I have a lot of stuff to paint um, for various different games that I want to play and that I currently play. So yeah, I guess there's that. Anybody out there using Xbox Game Pass? Um, I gotta tell you, for the cost of that thing is just value. I mean, it's just straight up good value. It's like $15. Um, there's a ton of good stuff on there. Like I downloaded and played the new MLB, the show that was on there. I'm not really good at baseball games, but every now and then I'm like, oh, I kind of want to play that, and then I buy it, and then I'm out $60, and it makes me sad because I play it once or twice, and that's all I really wanted to play it. But yeah, I think I played like two games, and I think I got my baseball fix out of the way. I do kind of prefer those like the Mario sports games, right? That's about the extent of the depth of the sports games that I want to play. I really enjoyed the Mario Tennis game that came out on the Switch. I think the golf game is going to be pretty great. I'm looking forward to that one. I'd like to see them redo the soccer game, the Mario Strikers. I think that would be a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't know. I talk a lot about Nintendo on the channel. Let's see. Rib Roast Malone. I have no idea where he's at. I think he's golfing. And you're right. He is definitely my sidekick, not the other way around. This is why I get to be Batman and he's Robin. Because I show up. Here I am. Um, yeah, I have no idea where he's at. I think he went golfing. I messaged him a little while ago and I said, I was like, hey, bro, I saw that you were out golfing like 2 hours ago, and I know how long it takes to golf. I've golfed, 18 holes before. You're not going to get done in 2 or 3 hours. It's like a 4 hour ish experience, and that's if you don't dick around. I think he was out with his grandpa and his dad today, so it's a beautiful day. I get it. We've actually been talking about making some changes to the show. We're not sure what we're gonna do with it, but we're starting to think that this 4 o'clock time slot on Sundays is pretty not good. So we're thinking about moving it to a different time, either later on Sunday or later on a Friday or something. I don't know. We're thinking about doing an evening show instead of a like in the middle of the day show. We're thinking about changing formats where we were kind of talking about news, and now we're not really sure what we're going to talk about. So the show's not going anywhere. It's going to still be here, even if it's just one of us two nerds on there. Yeah, you're right. He is the Tim Drake Robin at that. Like, he's the worst Robin, right? He's not the good Robin. He's not Dick Grayson, although he is a dick. Love that guy. So yeah, that's kind of what's been going on with the front on that. So um a couple of good Switch releases coming out pretty soon, I think. I picked up, like I said, I picked up the last Monster Hunter game. Haven't played it. I pre-ordered Pokemon Snap. I'm pretty excited for that. I thoroughly enjoyed the N64 Pokemon Snap. Although I didn't have an N64 at the time when that system came out, but my one friend did, and I used to go over to his house and play his all the time. My brother had one too, but I didn't really play his that much. I remember playing GoldenEye, but I don't remember hating those controllers as much as I hate those controllers. Those Boomerang N64 controllers suck. And I'm really sorry for any fans of the N64 controller that are watching in the channel, but the N64 Boomerang controller is terrible. I said it, and I'm not ashamed of that. The battery pack that they added onto it, the rumble pack that they added onto it, terrible. It's a horrific shape. Gives you hand cramps. It looks ugly. It's like a flying saucer, but not cool. It's like a batarang, but not cool. I hate that controller. There is a company that makes a more traditional style controller for the N64. We're going to go ahead and give them a plug real quick. They're called Retro Brawlers. Retro Brawlers. They make N64 controllers. I think they make some Dreamcast controllers. They've got some pretty sweet wireless controllers for GameCube and stuff. So you should go check them out. I bought a couple of their Retro Brawler 64 controllers, and I absolutely love them. They're great. They're very well made. I bought them in some fun colors. They actually put out all the colors of the systems of the N64. Like they had the lime green one, and they had the orange one, and the purple one. And I guess I never realized how many different variations of the N64 they had put out until I went researching to try and buy an N64 because I was trying to complete my Nintendo retro collection. And there were a lot of variations of the N64. There were a few variations of the GameCube. And I think the Wii, they didn't have a lot of variations of the Wii or the Wii U. The Wii U wasn't around long enough to matter. And all the stuff for the Switch has been minor details. They've only really had what I would say two that look dramatically different than the standard just gray Switch, and that would be the Mario one with the red Joy Cons and like the blue faceplate, and I'd say the Animal Crossing one. Um, Other than that, I even like the docks; they look identical. Now the Animal Crossing one is dramatically different. It's the Joy Cons are completely different color. They're those weird pastel colors, and I was totally on board for that one. I wanted something a little bit different, so the pastels and the dock is a completely different color too. I haven't heard any word if they're going to continue to start selling individual docks. That's kind of why I've been on the fence about trading mine in or selling my other dock, my other Switch, because I don't really want to get rid of the third dock. I have three. I have one hooked up to my computer, and I have one hooked up to each one of my TVs. So I really kind of want to keep the three docks. I bought an extra one when they were selling those, but they don't really sell those individually. I think that they're just either they've discontinued them or they're just out of stock. Not really sure. So yeah, I guess that's on the agenda today. Went down to the guard tower and picked up stuff. I haven't been to the guard tower in a couple of weeks, and I try to go there and support local game store. Yeah, I ended up picking up Journeys in Middle Earth. It's a game I can play by myself, and I'm starting to get more into like board games and tabletop games that I can play by myself. Even before the pandemic, it was hard to get people consistently together to play games. So, I've gotten into games like Gloomhaven and Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. I'm really into Arkham. Arkham's brilliant. Anyone who is watching who has not played Arkham Horror, the card game, uh, do yourself a favor if you're into like really narrative story games. Go pick up some a starter set, a core set of the Arkham Horror. It's pretty great. If you're not into like really heavy narrative games, you'll hate it. You won't like it. It has mechanics similar to Marvel Champions, but in Marvel Champions, it doesn't feel as narrative driven, right? Like Rhino's breaking into a bank or Rhino's breaking into the Shield facility, but I don't really care why. I just have to stop him. But in Arkham, there are consequences. Each one of the stories can be played out like a campaign. I mean, you can play them individually, um, but I don't know why you would want to. I feel like that's kind of the fun of that game is stringing them all together and playing one continuous story. So we've been waiting to get the D&D back up and running. Um, I have received my third Dungeon in a Box. We have not even started the content in Dungeon in a Box number 2 because of the side adventure that they went on the last time. However, that was some of the best Dungeons and Dragons I've ever played in person. It's some of the best DMing I've ever done. It's some of the best character interactions I've ever seen happen in a game. So I don't even care. It was a good time. Everyone had a good time. And I don't really care that we didn't make a ton of progress. They did gain a level. They fought a really cool, unique boss, but I think that's really what the game's about, is having those memorable experiences. And um, yeah. So speaking of Marvel Champs, I'm stumped, right? So I got Galaxy's Most Wanted, and it's a pretty big bump in difficulty in comparison to the other bosses and the other campaign, the Rise of the Red Skull. Now, I haven't personally played the Rise of the Red Skull campaign, but I've heard that overall it's not terribly challenging. It's fun, but it's not terribly challenging. It's a lot of the same kind of things that we've already seen before. But Galaxy's Most Wanted, for anyone that's in the channel that listens to me talk about Marvel Champions and whatnot, or that plays, it's like on this whole other level. I've looked into a little bit of the bosses, so I've completed the first scenario, and I got through it on the first try, but it was close. It wasn't like I completely beat it. Now, I guess a little preface. Um, I went with the two heroes that came in the box. I went with Rocket Raccoon and Groot. I tweaked the decks that they came with, so Rocket was playing an aggression deck, and Groot was playing a protection deck. So I kind of tweaked those decks a little bit and took out some stuff and added some different stuff. But overall, like, it was pretty much the same decks that they had. And Groot's pretty good. He's interesting. He has this like shielding counter mechanic that he can prevent damage from these little counters that get on him. And Rocket likes to hit stuff harder than it needs to be hit. So you have to kind of rethink him. Whereas a lot of times it's more about efficiency. So you look at an enemy's got 2 health left. You're trying to figure out how can I do 2 health without doing too much damage to it. So, I can save one of my higher hit cards for another thing. Well, Rocket wants to hit things harder than how many hit points they have left, because he gets to draw cards every time he does that. So that was kind of an adjustment. It was kind of different. Rocket's all about the guns and the rocket launchers and the gizmos and the weapons. So he's interesting. I think he's a pretty cool character. So I played those characters, and I usually only normally play one hero. So, but I was playing two because I kind of wanted. I feel like you can't play Rocket without Groot, and you can't play Groot without Rocket. Like they're best friends, right? They even have a team up card in their deck, and when you play them solo, they have an ally card that they can put in of the other character. So I'm playing. We get through Drang, and I get to the Collector, and the Collector is really, really unique in that he has three ways that he can beat you. He doesn't do like a crazy amount of damage, but he does consistent damage. Um, I've probably done that scenario now 12 times, and I have lost, I think, only once or twice to damage. And I've lost probably 4 or 5 games due to threat, as in the boss hit his scheme, and you know, you get a bad draw off the encounter deck, and it's like back to back scheme. So he schemed that turn, then schemed again, and got a good boost, and then you lose. It happens. But the other mechanic in that scenario is it's known as the collection, right? So anytime that one of your cards that's on the table, basically like a permanent card. So if you have an ally or a minion or an attachment or a weapon or something that sits on the table for a while and then goes away, if any cards like that go to your discard pile, they instead don't go to your discard pile, they go into the collection. And if the collection gets enough cards in it, that's equal to like 5 times the number of players. So I was playing 2 people, so it'd be 10. Then you lose. So you can lose by that thing hitting 10 cards in it. And it's not like your event cards. So your event cards, they do their thing and then they go to the discard pile. That doesn't count. But it also counts for the boss too. So any of his minions or attachments or any of his side schemes or anything that at one point was on the table and then no longer is on the table, it goes to the collection. And I've lost more to that mechanic than anything. And I've tried rushing him down like a ton of damage. I've tried focusing mostly on the threat and having another character do damage. And I've gotten him clear into stage 2, down to about 18 hit points in stage 2. And I don't think that it's impossible, but I think that it's pretty difficult. So and now that's the second encounter in the campaign box. So like if you do them in order. So there's still another encounter with the Collector. It's different. There's another encounter with Nebula who effort's pretty tough. But then they say Ronan the Accuser. They say that they're not even sure how many people have actually legitimately beat that. I guess he comes in with like a ton of side schemes. Depending on how you did in the campaign, he hits for way more damage. The one guy quoted and said, "Yeah, he hit me back-to-back turns, back-to-back attacks in the same turn against both my characters for like 12 plus damage." He goes, "I don't know if you know this or not, but most characters don't have that much hit points. Like Spider-Man has like 10, right? So a 12 hit coming at you is a lot." So I think it's just one of those things that people haven't really figured out. So I'm gonna keep hammering at it. It took me a while to finish like even the core box villains, and I haven't tackled some of the other ones like Kang the Conqueror, or I think Green Goblin I might work on next because I have a pretty decent Spider-Man deck and a pretty decent Iron Man deck. I'm working on a pretty good Hulk deck, but they did just update the rules reference guide and changed how some of the defense cards worked a little bit. They don't work that much differently, but I think that they kind of work the way that they originally intended the ability to work. So they made them slightly better, but I guess some of them are slightly worse now. But it's an interesting game. I like it. It's pretty cool. I like that I don't have to sit and think about everything I'm going to put in my deck for 3 hours before I have to play. You just get to sit down and you get to play, and it's a good time. Whereas Arkham, I haven't even like messed with the deck building. I'm not even through the core campaign. I've played the first scenario about 3 or 4 times. I've played the second scenario twice, and I haven't even gotten through the third scenario. So for just the core box experience, it's worth it. I think that it's an interesting game. But again, it's not a game that I'm going to spend and try to buy everything for. I had another buddy trying to get me into do Lord of the Rings card game because I've been kind of wanting to get a board game or a tabletop game based in that kind of universe. And everyone talks about how great the Lord of the Rings card game is, because Marvel Champions and Arkham kind of spawned from those games, right? But the game's been out for like 10 years. I believe it's celebrating its 10th anniversary this year. and some of the expansions haven't been reprinted in a while. And if I get into a game like that, I want to be able to buy the entire story. I don't need to buy every expansion, but I know that they do the stories kind of like in packs. So one whole story might be one big box and then like 4 or 5 small packs, and that tells one story. And if I can't get all of them, I don't even want to play it. I don't want to play them as individuals. I want to play the whole story. Like that's the whole point for doing it. That's kind of how I've been going in at Arkham. So I bought 2 of the big box expansions that start a new story, and then I bought all the individual packs that go with it to complete the story. And then I don't want to buy like the first part and not get to see how the second part goes, or have to remember how the second part was going. But as far as deck building in Arkham, I have no idea. I haven't really messed with it. I'm still playing with the starter deck and having a pretty good time with it. So I wouldn't say that it's a super heavy deck building game, which I kind of like that. So, but yeah, I picked up Journeys in Middle Earth. I've heard some good things about it. It's not a card game. It's more of a board game that's run by an app. I'm kind of gonna run through this game because this game was specifically designed with an app in mind, unlike Descent and Imperial Assault that Fantasy Flight has also put out, where the app was more like an afterthought. And I feel like if Journeys in Middle Earth is fun and the app makes the game more atmospheric, kind of like how they did with Mansions of Madness, then I might be on board for the new Descent when it comes out. Um, but I don't want to really necessarily pick it up if I find that the app is intrusive, or it's not fun, or it's difficult to use. Um, but I think that they've learned a lot from their I think from their apps as they've gone on with their gaming. So um, I think that's good. You know, there's some people that don't get into the whole app driven game. I don't mind. I think that if it adds more atmosphere to the game, like if you took a game like Dungeons and Dragons and you added it to where the dungeon master can be controlled by the computer and the computer makes all the decisions for you, I think that more people would probably try to play that solo. And it would be different than a video game because, like, you can play Baldur's Gate, you can play, the old Neverwinter Nights and things like that, but it's just different getting the pen and the paper out and getting the dice out and physically rolling and have someone tell you a story versus you experience a story through video. It's just different. It's kind of like why books are more enjoyable to people sometimes than watching a movie. And for me, I enjoy both mediums, but they don't have an app for D&D. But I think that that's why games like Gloomhaven and some of these other new app-driven games are coming out, because they kind of replace the role of the dungeon master. You don't have to have someone play the game but not get to play the game. That was one of my biggest gripes with Descent. It was one of my original biggest gripes with Hero Quest, although I am excited for Hero Quest the remaster. I went all in on the little Hasbro Pulse Kickstarter thing. I got everything that they can get. So I'm pretty excited for that. But yeah, I mean, you have the one person who basically has to be the bad guy. He has to control the monsters, he has to tell the story, and he doesn't really get to play as much as the other people. Plus, he also has to learn how to play the game and be the rules expert and teach everyone else how to play. That sucks sometimes. Once the people know how to play, it becomes more fun, but even in a game like Descent, the Overlord player is actively trying to defeat the players. Like, he has his own objective, they have their own objective, and you're trying to race to see who can get to it. So Descent is really more of a competitive game. It has elements of RPG to it, but it's not really like the guy is telling you a story and you get through it. So I think that the person that comes up with an app that will tell you stories for Dungeons and Dragons, to where maybe you only have 2 or maybe 3 people and no one knows how to be a dungeon master. Because I'll tell you, like, 3-player D&D, you can do it. Is it fun? It's less fun than if you have 3 players and a dungeon master, that's for sure. So yeah, maybe they will do something like that in the future. As I see the technology going more towards app-driven games, and I know that D&D Beyond has been really killing it with the mobile stuff. They finally combined their mobile app and the reader, so now all your stuff is in one spot. They got the dice roller and the combat log. They're almost, I think, if they can get their maps and their own tokens on a virtual tabletop, you won't have to go to a site like Roll20 anymore. And I'm not dissing on Roll20. Roll20 is fine. but I don't really want to have to buy the content on Roll20 and buy the content on D&D Beyond, and it's actually more expensive on Roll20. But there's a lot more stuff that goes into it, right? It's not just like here's a book and you get to read it. You know, they physically create all the tokens, and some guy has to go through and put all the tokens in and label them and make them work the way that they're supposed to work in the game. I get it. It should cost more. And it is officially licensed if you want to play that. But yeah, I think that, excuse me. I mean, they're getting there. They've made a lot of progress with Dungeons and Dragons. I don't see fifth edition slowing down anytime soon. They may at some point do a revision to the rules, like a minor revision. But the thing I have to say that I have been most impressed with this edition of the game is that they have added a lot. They used to add stuff all the time, like new spell classes and stuff, but it would be kind of like out of left field. No one knew about it. I don't feel that there was always enough playtesting involved with it. But now they have this like unearthed arcana, and they'll put this content out there and let players on D&D Beyond and other places test the content out. Then they give them feedback like, "Hey, this is cool, this is boring, this seems a little powerful or whatever." And now they have hundreds of thousands of players giving them feedback and testing their content. And then you get a book that's released a little while later, like Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which was a whole bunch of this unearthed arcana, but it had been play tested. And we got a new class with that, with the Artificer. They added new subclasses and stuff for warlocks and druids and fighters and stuff. And I actually ended up getting one of the new feats from the Tasha's Cauldron of Everything book, and there's some cool stuff in that book. Is that a necessary book to play? No, but it's got some neat stuff in it. So I hit level 8. I got a new feat, and my character now has telepathy, and I would have never had that ability to do that because I'm a Kinku and I can't talk and I hate it. But now I'm going to be able to be telepathic and I can talk to people with my mind. So that's pretty exciting, right? It is for me, considering that I played a character that can't talk and I typically have the most to say. So I regret that. If I ever would play Kinku again, it would never be in an online format. It would be in one where I can actually use facial expressions. But this is like the only character I think I've ever really played beyond like level 1 or 2. I'm level 8 now, and that feels like a pretty good accomplishment. I've been playing the character for over a year, and I have some pretty sentimental attachment to the character. I can kind of see now why people wanted to keep playing the same character for a long time, and so I like I get that now. It's kind of fun being on the other side of the table, and I wish sometimes I could get some other people to be brave and pick up the Dungeon Master reins and try it. Just try it out. You're not gonna do terrible at it. You're gonna be fine. You can't get you can't feel like it's a frustrating experience. You're gonna be fine. Every time I do it, I remember just how much enjoyment I get out of running a game. But it is cool to sit back, I have to admit, on Thursdays when we play and not have to worry about running the game or the encounters, or I just get to be the character and I get to show up and I get to fight monsters, and it's cool. It's fun. So, but anybody that ever wants to learn about how to DM that's out there watching and you want to learn how to run games, holler. I will give you all the tips and tricks I know. And if you need more tips and tricks, go watch Matt Mercer. He's like on a completely different level. completely different level. But I feel like he gives you some pretty good points of inspiration, and some of the things that he talks about in the way that he plays. He has a lot of good tips and stuff for new players. But I'm happy to teach anyone that wants to learn how to do it. It's not hard. It's not nearly as hard or as difficult of a monster as people think it is. I know that Aaron, aka Vera Coach, has talked about wanting to get into DMing, and I said, hey, just do it. And if you need people to play, I will play. Or if there's a week when we're going to play in person and you want to run the game, cool. I introduced a character into their story that is an NPC that I can play on purpose. So that way, if someone else wants to run the game, I get to play. So that was smart. Probably won't happen, but that's okay. It was still really, really clever of me. So I have to assume, with about 20-ish minutes left in the allotted time that I'll probably be running today, that my sidekick will not be coming, because we missed a couple weeks ago. I think around Easter we missed because there's Easter stuff going on. And yeah, so we should I think we've only missed 2 episodes, and when you consider how long we've been on the air, how long we've been doing this, to only have 2 episodes where one of us was not on the air for this many weeks in a row. We are on episode what, 90 something, I don't know, 80 something. I don't even know what show we're on. Let me look here. We are on episode 89, and we've only missed 2 shows. Like we weren't on the air for 89 weeks, so it should be 91 weeks. It's pretty good. I salute us. But I think that that's kind of why we're thinking about changing the format up a little bit and getting the show a little bit more uniform, because it's always been seat of our pants. We kind of just get up here, we talk about stuff. Sometimes it is relevant, sometimes it is cool. Um, Sometimes we have a really good show, and then sometimes no one shows up, and it's fine. Oh man. So yeah, I got to check out Mortal Kombat today. That's kind of on my agenda. I'm gonna go upstairs and put together the tray organizer that I bought separately for Journeys in Middle Earth. I'm probably gonna learn how to play that. Probably rock that out for the rest of the night. I'm planning on putting on the Lord of the Rings soundtrack while I do it, so I can get really focused and really in the zone. Plus, that soundtrack is just great, and so is the Hobbit one. I just started rewatching the Hobbit extended edition because I bought the 4K collector sets that came out. I think back in December, and I had never seen the extended cuts of the Hobbit movies. I don't think I prefer the extended cuts of the Hobbit movies. I prefer the extended cuts of the Lord of the Rings movies, but I don't think I prefer the extended cuts of the Hobbit movies. But I liked the Hobbit movies, not nearly as much as the Lord of the Rings movies. But I'm rereading the books. Uh, well, I'm listening to them on audiobook, and I got through the Hobbit, and I got through the first Lord of the Rings book, and I'm like a third of the way through the Two Towers. And man, I forgot how much singing is in those books. And I forgot that there was that one character, because I probably haven't read the books since maybe middle school, so that's kind of why I wanted to reread them again. And I think I've probably read those books 20 or 30 times in my life, but it had been a long time since I'd read them. And I forgot all about Tom Bombadil, that character. I forgot about when, like, the differences between the book. I was just talking about this earlier today. Um, So when Bilbo leaves the Shire and he leaves the ring to Frodo, and Gandalf is like, "Hey, this is your uncle's ring," and then he goes to like investigate it. In the book, he was gone for like a while. In the movie, they kind of make it seem like Gandalf kind of disappears for a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, and then he comes back and he's like, "That ring is bad news." But in the book, he was gone for like years, like 20, 30, 40 years, something like that. He would come in and periodically check on Frodo, like, "Hey, is everything cool?" Cool. But like he didn't come back like a couple weeks later and was like, "Oh God, that ring, it's terrible." So it's interesting. I think the differences in between the books and the movies. It's really hard to believe that Peter Jackson was even able to take that movie and condense it down, or take the books and condense that down into a story that was even a few hours long. Um, but I enjoyed the extended cuts a lot. I finished watching the Snyder cut of Justice League last week, and I tell you that, like, in comparison, if you watch the original Justice League that came out, the one that Joss Whedon and Warner Brothers put out, and you compare it to the 4 hour long thing that Zack Snyder put out, like, they're not even the same movie. And I'm not just talking the length, but there's so many scenes that are in the Zack Snyder cut that are not in the Whedon cut, that I have no idea how that even happened. I don't even know how there was enough footage to even make a movie, right? I know that they got some guys to come in and do some voicing and some rework and stuff, but still, it's almost an entirely new movie. There's a few scenes that are still in the Whedon cut and the Snyder cut. Specifically, one of the fight scenes with Steppenwolf is almost verbatim the exact same. And then the scene with Superman when he comes back and he's fighting the Justice League, that's pretty much verbatim from the movie that we saw in the theaters too. Um, but all the like plot setup and introduction of the other characters, and Cyborg plays such a bigger role in the movie, and so does the Flash. And I feel like the Whedon one that we saw, they were just kind of tacked on, right? Like they were just kind of stuck in the movie. We didn't really know much about them unless you'd read the comics. But when you watch the Snyder cut, Cyborg is kind of like the heart and soul of the team, and so is the Flash. I mean, yeah, Batman brings them together, but Cyborg gets way more screen time. You give more attention to Cyborg, which I think is pretty cool, because he didn't have any solo movie up to that point. So I think that that's good. So anyone that was into the whole DC universe thing, like even a little bit, I say give the Snyder Cut a try. Yes, it's 4 hours. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. It is 4 hours. Parts of it are long. They feel long, but it's not uninteresting, right? I broke it up into 2 hours each day, so I watched it for 2 hours one night and 2 hours for another night. Because there's not very many movies or TV shows that I can sit down and watch for just like a 4 hour stretch. And I didn't want to be distracted. I wanted to give it a fair chance, so I split it up. But I could have sat and watched that in one sitting. Um, to me, it ends up making Batman versus Superman better. It definitely makes the Justice League movie better. It was just a better movie. Was it long? Yeah. Did it need to be that long? No, probably not. I feel realistically you could have cut that down to 2 hours and 45 minutes, maybe 3 hours. But there's an hour of what I would say solid filler in that movie. But it's interesting. And when they approach you and they say, "Hey, we're going to let you do the movie that you wanted to do," well, I'm going to make it long too. I'm going to put everything in there that I wanted to, because this is the last time I get to touch that project, right? So I'm going to put it all in there. I'd have made it a 5 hour thing. I'd have made it a 6 hour mini series. That thing would still be playing. I don't know if what that's going to necessarily mean for the future of his works. I think he's done, but I would have liked to. I think he's a hack in some regards, but there's no denying that he had a vision, and then that vision got skewed somewhere along the lines when he wasn't able to sit there and finish the project. And that's why it just feels so different. I'm not saying he's the best director or writer or whatever, because he's a hack sometimes. But I've enjoyed most of his stuff. Warner Brothers sometimes just needs to keep their nose out of the way of the directors and let the directors and writers do their thing. I think that's why the DC movies have been so inconsistent. Wonder Woman was great. They let Patty Jenkins do her thing. They didn't get involved too much. Yeah, she had some stuff from that she had to incorporate from Snyder's movies because it was all trying to be one connected universe, but for the most part she got to do her own thing. Wonder Woman's great. Aquaman was great. Again, same reasons. They kind of let what's his Wu, I think his name's Wu. I cannot remember his name. But he's brilliant. He's visionary. They let him do his own thing. That movie was great. Shazam was great. Um, Batman versus Superman, the Warner Brothers, you could tell that like they kind of got their noses in it a little bit, and they cut out more than should have been cut out. The director's cut of that movie makes the movie better. I'm just gonna say it. And this is coming from like the biggest Marvel fan. I say that as I'm wearing my retro Superman shirt. I've always been a big Marvel fan. I like the characters in DC. Like I like Batman, and Superman is pretty cool. And I've always thought the Flash was neat, but I don't know enough about them to say, oh, I'm a fan. I didn't buy a lot of the books, right? I didn't read a lot of the books growing up, so. But Marvel, yeah, I learned a lot about those. I used to collect the Marvel Universe cards, and I had like the first four series of those, like hundreds of cards, and those were fun. I kind of wish I hadn't gotten rid of those because that's something I would have loved to have. I bet you I can probably find those on eBay somewhere and get the collection back again. But I had most of the holofoils, and I liked it because the cards had like stats on the back and like interesting facts, like first appearance of this character, and they tell you a little bit about them. And yeah, I think the first series of those I collected was the Marvel Universe Cards Series 1, but I had the first three series were really good, and the fourth series was less good, but really like those. I think Upper Deck made those, or maybe it was Fleer. Yeah, I don't know. Do they still do trading cards like that aren't like a game, but that I know that they do baseball cards and sports cards, but do they actually do like trading cards, like I don't know, comic books or like Star Wars, or does anyone even give a shit about stuff like that? Do kids even do anything with the trading cards and stuff now? I know that the reason the trading card games became popular was because not only were they trading cards, but they were a game, and you can do more with those. They didn't just sit in your binder. But I think with the Marvel cards, we used to kind of make up our own game, based just solely off of the stats, and it was fun. I had every single one from the first like four series, and I kind of regret getting rid of them. Not that because I think that they're valuable, just I mean it's a cool little piece of Marvel history, and you know what? I think later today I'm going to go on and see if I can find like at least the first two or three series of the Marvel Universe cards. Someone out there somewhere has them. I remember buying the packs and cracking open the packs, and I had no idea what the rarity level on the packs were. I bought a ton of packs of those sets. I bought an entire booster box of the Series 2 cards. And I had another friend that collected them, and we traded back and forth, to get like the full set. I think between both of us, we ended up both having all of Series 2. But I went to a flea market one time, and I found a guy that was selling like complete sets of the Series 1 cards. I think it was like 25 or $30. And this was like 1990 something. I wasn't very old, so like $30 was a lot. But I ended up buying like the whole set because that way I didn't have to go out and buy a whole bunch of booster packs. That I think the packs were like $1 or $1.50 a piece, something like that. And I was doing math in my head. I'm like, well, I would have to, $30 is like a lot of packs, But then I end up with all these other cards I don't need. Um, and of course, the holofoils even back then were like the hard ones to get. So you might get 5 or 6 holofoils out of an entire box, and there was always like 20 or 25 holofoils for a set. And that's why I think it was either Fleer or Upper Deck that did it because they started doing that with the baseball cards and stuff around the same time. And I guess that's a big deal now, right? I know that the basketball cards are a really big deal, so people are buying those and scalping those and Pokemon cards and I think Magic finally found the sweet spot. They've just put out so much stuff that scalpers can't buy it all. Or it's just so readily available that they don't even want to attempt to buy everything. So, you go into Target or Meijer, you can buy all the Magic cards you want. They've got the collector's boosters, they've got the set boosters, they've got the expensive Modern Masters boosters, they've got the decks. You can buy anything from Magic that you want to. And I know that Magic cards are maintaining their value, but they're not like those lottery packs, right? They're not. You're not going to open up. Um, you're not going to open up a $200-300 Charizard. Yeah, the Target this morning had everything not Magic limited to one per customer. So the Target out here for a while was doing. You could only get a total of three of the same item. So if you wanted packs, you could get 3 packs of cards, not sets, but packs. They've got signs up saying like basically they're only selling the trading cards that are like in high demand Monday through Friday at like I think starting at like 8 a.m. until 11 a.m. So they're only open like this 3 hour window or until they're gone. You got to go up to the customer service desk. The Target out by me, every single time that they get Pokemon packs in, they are putting them in the those DVD security boxes, so that way people aren't stealing them. They're wrapping up the Elite Trainer boxes and the tin sets and the oversized holofoil sets with those security tags with like that look like the big boomerangs, because people are opening them up and taking them. I guess the sports cards. I think it's football and basketball. I guess are like the two big ones, and it may be baseball cards too. But I didn't realize that there was like a huge demand for those too. But yeah, there's people that if you look on Facebook Marketplace and stuff, they're selling some of those sealed boxes, which I think the boxes are only like 20 or $25 for a whole box of cards for the baseball cards or the basketball cards. But you have a chance of opening up, I guess, these like really ultra rare cards worth, a few $100s. So, I can't wax intellectually enough about the sports cards because I haven't collected sports cards since probably the 90s. Um, that doesn't surprise me that they had them limited to one per. Like it's just getting to that point. Um, when I went into the guard tower today, they had a sign up for um, the Pokemon boosters. They didn't have very many, but they were limiting them to basically 6 packs per party. So if you came in with 3 people, you guys combined could buy 6 packs. That's it. Any of the other products, they were limit like you could only buy a total of 2 total items that had booster packs in them. So if you wanted an Elite Trainer box, then you couldn't buy packs. So they were kind of trying to limit them. Between that and the Flesh and Blood card game, which I've looked into getting into, but I can't. It's not readily enough available for me to buy it. Um, they're limiting people on that too. So that I guess that's like the new hotness. But Magic, man, you can buy all the Magic stuff you want. And again, I think it's because the prices have stabilized for the most part, and we already dealt with scalpers with Magic a long time ago. So Magic fixed it by just flooding the market. The prices stay good, but no one's going to scalp it, right? Like they tried to scalp the commander decks and stuff for a while, but that didn't work out because Magic just kept reprinting them. I've looked into Flesh and Blood. The aftermarket on Flesh and Blood is not crazy on the unlimited prints of the cards. Like you're still going to pay retail for it. You can't usually get those packs and stuff for less. But if you get into those like Imperial cuts and like the first editions, man, some of those cards are $700, $800, $900 for one card. But a game like that is only going to sustain the value of the number of people playing it. And right now, I don't know anyone that actually physically picks up the cards and plays it. Mostly because I think it's an issue of finding them. If I was able to find some, I'd get some and try it out. But I personally don't know anyone that has even been messing with it or trying it out or playing it. I've read online a lot, and people say the game is great. They say it's everything that Magic isn't. They say that you don't have to have these crazy expensive cards, and you can still compete. They said obviously the crazy expensive cards are good, but it's not like their crazy expensive cards aren't the same power level as something like Black Lotus, right? So yeah, the guy that has the Black Lotus is going to do more explosive stuff, but the guy that has like the one cape or something, it does cool stuff, but it doesn't feel like you're so far disadvantaged that you can't win. So they need to because they've come out with like a couple of sets for that. And the one guy I watch on YouTube, he's got 3 or 4 boxes of like the first edition Imperial set or the first set that came out, and like the boxes for that like $1,000, $2,000 for one box of cards, and I'm like I can't afford that. I can afford to give you maybe 100, 150 for a box of cards, but right now, not having anyone to play with in person and the cards not being readily available for me to just be able to go to the store and pick up some packs and buy some if I want to, I just don't feel like getting into a game like that. If I had a means of trying it out digitally, I would. So maybe I'll look to see if there's a tabletop sim mod for it or a digital version that they're thinking about coming up with. But as far as I know, they're all in on the the physical aspect of the game. But it's good. I hope that the game sticks around. I think that there needs to be another card game or two in the space, because for the most part it's been Magic and Pokemon, right? Those are like the 2 games. Every now and then you get a game that comes in and people try it and it's cool, but it doesn't stick around. Like they had the couple of Star Wars games, they had the Star Trek game, Dragon Ball Z was a thing. Yu-Gi-Oh for the most part is I think Yu-Gi-Oh is still around. I think people still care about that a little bit. But for the most part, it's been Magic and it's been Pokemon. And there hasn't been any other game that has had that same lasting power with that big of a player base. Um, but I don't think Ashes Reborn is like a collectible card game. Is that not more like a living card game? Plus, I'll be really honest with you. I've seen a little bit about the Ashes Reborn, and the artwork looks cool, but it it's I don't know. It's another card game to me, and I think that living card games will never compete in the same space as trading card games. They're just not. They're not. I don't think they're destined for the same types of people, right? Because when you deal with a trading card game, there's a lot more elements of deck building than when you're dealing with a living card game, because you're limited by the number of options. But that's the very nature of a living card game. Is for example, like when you're playing Marvel, you're limited pretty much right off the bat. Like you have 15 cards of the 40 you're allowed to play that have to be this hero's signature cards. You can't change those in any way. So you really are limited right off the bat. And then if you throw in the three double or the three double resource cards and like two other what I would call staple gray cards like endurance or the other one, so you're now at 20. You're halfway done. So you only get to really add like 20 cards to your deck. So it's not really like a complicated thing. Whereas Magic or any other type of trading card game, it's more of a your deck has to be more refined. So again, I'm not slamming on Ashes Reborn. I have seen a little bit about it, but again, it feels more like a living card game to me. I know that the game is being very successful. The Kickstarter was really successful, and they're getting some product out for it. And there definitely is a market for more games like that, right? But it just amazes me that a game like Flesh and Blood kind of came out of nowhere, and Channel Fireball started like doing a bunch of articles about it, and now all of a sudden that game is everywhere. But I don't know if you heard, um, Channel Fireball is actually getting out of the market of selling singles. They're going to be more of a storefront, like for other stores to sell stuff to them or sell through them, kind of like Amazon, I guess. So they sold their entire stock of Pokemon and Flesh and Blood and Magic stuff to this other company that is going to sell the cards through their web front. So it was kind of a big deal. Um, I'm not like the biggest fan of Channel Fireball all the time, but I will say for the most part that they have stuff. So like when I was looking for singles or whatever, they had it. But there's just a lot of crazy stuff going on right now with collectibles and cards and Flesh and Blood and Pokemon and Magic and stuff. And you can really tell that these game stores, they're not going to let people come in and buy it for retail and then turn around and sell it. So when a store like Miniature Market, who normally sells stuff either at or just under retail, when they're selling Pokemon cards at above retail, where they never have done that before, and it's because people are going through and buying all of their stock out and then reselling it for double. I can't say that I blame them. Does it suck? Yeah. I found a store who I have not plugged properly that I was able to get some of the Pokemon set for battle styles. I ended up getting a booster box and an elite trainer box for retail or slightly less than retail. And I was just excited. I was just excited to get it, be able to open it up because I'm not a huge I don't play a ton of Pokemon, but I just like to open the packs. It's fun. Um, so I think that's kind of the allure. I guess that was back to my original point of trading card games in general, right? Is opening up a pack and maybe you get something good and maybe you don't. I think that's why sports cards have always been fun and baseball cards and like the Marvel cards I was just talking about earlier. But like when you deal with living cards, you know exactly what you're getting. So you buy it and you're getting everything in that pack. And I think that that's also good. But that's also why those things are not usually worth a ton of money. Like you don't have any cards in those sets that are worth a lot. Even like some of the promos and stuff aren't even crazy expensive. But I think that if you get into a living card game, you're not getting into a living card game to sell it, right? Like you don't pick up Lord of the Rings or Arkham or the Star Wars living card game in the hopes that, man, my living cards are going to be worth a lot of money one day. No, you get into it because it's fun. And if you ever want to sell out, you can usually get back what you got out of it, right? As long as your cards ain't all fucked up. Like right now, I could take all of my Marvel stuff and probably get every dollar I put into it or pretty close to it and not be out anything. Especially considering all my sleeve our cards are sleeved, so I'd be able to charge a little bit more for that. And they're the good sleeves, right? They're the dragon shields. They are the clear matte dragon shields on those cards. So, thanks for the like and the share, Zachary, man. I appreciate it. Not really sure where my other homie is, but don't worry, I'll be giving him a stern talking to. Um, I think that's going to be it for Sunday. Um, I'm gonna go check out the Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle Earth um, board game that I bought all in on today. I'm gonna put together my organizer. I'm gonna watch The Hobbit while I'm doing that, and I'll probably post some pictures on the Instagram. Hopefully I'll get to play a couple games. Um, so yeah, I think live D&D. I have not streamed the last couple sessions of digital D&D because it's been more enjoyable for me to just sit and play D&D and not have to worry about streaming. But I'm probably going to be doing some more painting streams this week. I don't know what, but probably some of the Marvel stuff. Like I started Black Widow. Again, it's another character that wears primarily all black. Like you can only make those characters so interesting. So when I finish up with Black Widow, I'll be halfway done with the core box. And I have no idea, honestly, if the Crisis Protocol game is even any good. I have no idea if it's fun. I've never played it. I didn't really buy it to play it. I bought it to paint it. And now I'm kind of like, well, when I get it done, I'd like to try it out, and I hope that it's not terrible. I'm sure it's fine. It got good game, or it got good reviews on the Board Game Geek. I've been kind of like, that's been sort of like my Bible right now. So anytime I kind of want to pick up a new game, I wonder if this is good, and if it's looking at like around an 8 or higher, I usually buy it without hesitation. And so far that has not steered me wrong. But there's been a few games like I think the one game I picked up, it only was at like a 6.8. I think Dark Souls, and I enjoyed that. So that's another set I want to paint is my Dark Souls stuff. My only issue with that is I don't really have a good storage solution for it because all the stuff doesn't fit in the actual boxes once you put some of them together. And I've never painted stuff that large before, so I have no idea how that's going to go. And I also don't have pictures of some of them, so it's hard for me to decide how they should be painted. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, painting streams probably coming. I might do some live action tabletopping if I can figure out how to play or get that to work. Since the new Journeys in Middle Earth game I got is it uses an app, so I should be able to stream the app pretty easy. If I can figure out a way to do the dual screen of the app up and you know, the tabletop up to where you can at least kind of maybe see what's going on. But anyway, yeah, it's Sunday. That's gonna be it for those two nerds. I got some things to do. My hour is up. I appreciate the like and the share, the chatting, all the support, guys. We really appreciate it. Sorry, my partner was not here today, but I am. And Nick Displays Games has been on the rise. We've been doing more stuff. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Stay safe if you're out and about. Enjoy the nice weather. Go get some sunshine. Drink a margarita, whatever you're into. We are out of here.